Oh, this Ontario government, this Doug Ford Ontario government, they just keep it going. There's no brakes on this car, on this train, on this bus, on this airplane. I don't know what it is, but it's nuts. So Doug Ford just appointed his buddy Ron Taverner as the top cop in Ontario. Meaning, if there were any if there were any investigations into the Ford government, his buddy would be overseeing that. So imagine if you are from Ontario, you know, Dalton McGuinty, a former premier, liberal premier of Ontario. There was the Orange Air Ambulance scandal. There was the gas plant scandal. Imagine Dalton McGuinty's buddy overseeing those investigations. This is a clear conflict of interest. Now, on top of that, it actually gets worse. So it's one thing if this guy if it was a conflict of interest, but he was qualified for the job. Oh, you know, sure, maybe it's a conflict of interest, but he's definitely qualified for the position. That's not even true. So this from iPolitics. Qualifications lowered for OPP commissioner job, allowing Ford family friend to apply. The first job description was posted to the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police website in October, and according to a search of the document's web history, was last modified on October 22nd. That posting required all applicants to hold, at minimum, the rank of deputy chief or assistant commissioner. Taverner, a superintendent with the Toronto Police Service, sits 2 ranks below that threshold. So not only is Taverner Doug Ford's buddy, he's also unqualified for the job. I mean, if you're going to be corrupt, at least try to make it, try to hide it in some way. Try to make it seem like you're not being corrupt. Try to at least act like, I didn't know that was a problem. Well, but he's definitely qualified. Not even qualified. Not even qualified. And this from Mike Crowley. Doug Ford admits he was in cabinet meeting that appointed his friend Ron Taverner to the OPP commissioner. Again. This reminds me actually a lot like the Trump administration in terms of there is just so much to cover here. There is so much going on at all times. I mean, there is so much that Ford has already done that I have absolutely forgotten a lot of it. I have to go back to my notes to check it. But he's made moves like frozen the minimum wage. He has taken away 2 paid sick days. He canceled the cap and trade system, which meant, among other things, canceling $100 million that was going to go into the school repair fund. There is just countless cuts that have negatively impacted the poor and the middle class that Doug Ford has done. And he's also appointing his buddies to top positions in Ontario. Now, thankfully, we do have a strong NDP in this province, a strong opposition party that is now calling for an investigation due to a section of the Members' Integrity Act that bans MPPs from making a decision or participating in making a decision, quote, in the execution of his or her office if the member knows or reasonably should know that in the making of the decision there is an opportunity to further the member's private interest or improperly to further another person's private interest. The opposition objects mainly to the fact that Ford did not recuse himself from the final cabinet decision to appoint Taverner to the job last week. It also points to a story first reported by iPolitics that the job qualifications of the position were lowered, paving the way for Taverner to apply. So it appears that Doug Ford broke the law to get his buddy hired. I mean, if it wasn't bad enough, if it wasn't already a conflict of interest, if he already wasn't qualified for the job, Doug Ford also likely broke the law to do this. Now, this is what... So I'm just amazed, really, what Doug Ford is willing to do. This takes... Usually I would say this takes balls, but I don't think Doug Ford really has balls here. I just think he's completely unaware. I don't honestly think he's all that intelligent. Now, maybe that's shocking to some of you, but I don't think he's that smart. He was born into wealth. He inherited his business. His dad was an MPP. His brother was the mayor of Toronto. Doug Ford has had every connection he will ever need, all the money he will ever need. There is no reason for him to be intelligent. He never had to be. Now, all that said, I will give a little defense now. I know it's hard to go from that to defending Doug Ford, but I will defend him a little bit because I don't really understand this line of criticism that I'm now seeing from the media. So this is from, I think, the Toronto Star. Close advisor to Premier Doug Ford had real estate deal with future OPP Commissioner Ron Taverner. So I don't really understand why this is a news story. So Doug Ford has already admitted to being a close friend of Taverner. So the fact that somebody on Doug Ford's staff sold a house to Taverner last year, I mean, I guess it goes to show that there are some connections here and, you know, all these people know each other, but we already know that. Doug Ford has already admitted to being friends with this guy. So I don't really understand what this story is supposed to do, but that's my minor defense of Doug Ford. But otherwise, there is nothing to defend here. Now, the Beaverton, which is essentially Canada's Onion, put out just a fantastic, hilarious headline that really sums this all up. So they say, new OPP commissioner vows to stamp out corruption that resulted in appointment of new OPP commissioner. Quote, it's my duty as a law enforcement officer to investigate the kind of backroom tit-for-tat dealings that would result in the requirements for the province's top policing job being lowered so a man would suddenly be qualified for that job. The Beaverton's great. I mean, even if you aren't Canadian, I highly suggest following the Beaverton. It'll give you sort of a comedic overview of what is happening in Canada. So check them out. But look, this is just 6 months into a 4-year Doug Ford term. I can't keep up. There is already so much going on. And look, I'm laughing a lot in this story because I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with how much Doug Ford is doing here. He really does not give a shit. If you're going to give him, credit for anything, credit him for not giving a shit about anything. He will do whatever the hell he wants to do, regardless of who it hurts, regardless of how it will negatively impact the poor and the middle class, regardless of anything. Doug Ford will do whatever he can do for him and his buddies, because right now, that's all this government is about.